Hello again. My name is Timothy Halloran. The date is Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. And in these videos we talk about divine coincidence. The coincidence of experiences, of feelings, of changes, in terms of maturing, in terms of our own evolution. And November is a month that it's difficult to convey what is really going on because it's deep, it's mysterious, it's confusing. And in general, what we are seeing and learning about these days that will most likely make November 8th and the days to follow a rather infamous time in our history and be in some history books likely in the future, is we are seeing the collective situation for how it actually is and measuring our own collective evolution in terms of where we are coming from and where we would like to go. But it's really about seeing where we actually are. Despite our wishful thinking, despite our hopes, despite our visions, we are really seeing where we are as a collective human species and how where we are now has been shaped by our past. And we are investigating this deep, unconscious, murky, confusing territory that is archetypally depicted by the planet Neptune. So November 2016 is the month of Neptune. And we have this infamous election date that is today. And if you have any degree of sensitivity at all, you've been feeling the collective depression, the collective stress, the collective anxiety and angst is palpable right now and will likely remain palpable through the coming weeks, as we are not likely to see any clean closure and problems solved, cure-alls are discovered happening after the polls close this evening. And so, first of all, I just want to remind you that this is not a political discussion. And for those of you who have commented on previous videos saying that I'm voicing my political opinion, no. Actually, that's more likely the case as you're projecting your own mental areas of focus onto the situations that are around you and the people that are around you. We're talking about the collective situation. And again, these coincidences. It's not a coincidence that the election is going on today and that we have these planetary alignments happening now and that we're going through this period of collective evolution that's happening right now. And so the real gift of astrology is not just telling us the what, which we'll talk about. Oh, what are we feeling? What are we experiencing? Yes, we'll cover these things, but also why? Why are we having to investigate into these areas? Why are these feelings coming up? Why can it be so heavy? Why can it be so depressing? Why can we feel these feelings of lethargy and incapability to really pull ourselves out of this bubble that makes it difficult to comprehend what is the truth? Who can I trust? Who can I believe? Who can I vote for? Is the question that is being brought up out of the collective. And so, let's talk about some of this planetary energy that is beautifully painted in a very poignant way this month. And so, really beginning today, as soon as the voting booths close, the moon moves into Pisces. And we just said Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is the main theme and energy of this month, as we have Neptune on the moon's south node in Pisces this entire month. It's building through the mid of November. Neptune is also stationing to not being able to move at all. Frozen on the moon's south node. Turning direct the same time it passes the moon's south node. This is poignant. It's in our faces. We can't ignore the fact that we're all submerged in this ocean and that we're all trying to surf and not be dragged down by this uncertainty and by this depression and by this instability, or on the flip side, escapism, delusion, having to check out of a situation that is too dark and scary and complicated to comprehend, so we've got to back out. These are the tendencies that I invite you to investigate within yourself. And this is my recommendation I'm going to give from the get-go today. Look within yourself. Yes, we're mentioning how this is collective situations, coming from collective history that is revealing where we are collectively coming from, and yet we need to see how these things have affected us personally and individually. So Moon goes into Pisces this evening around 5 p.m. It's going to remain there through, Wednesday into Thursday. And this is this uncertainty, this confusion, hesitancy. And then we have 3 of the inner planets, all 3 inner planets really, changing signs going on this week as well. Hours after the polls close this evening, Mars is going to push into Aquarius. Viva la revolution. And then this approaching weekend, we have Venus moving out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. And Mercury is moving out of Scorpio into Sagittarius. On Saturday the 12th, Venus and Mercury change. Tomorrow, the 9th, Mars moves into Aquarius. So what is this flipping of energies that's going on this week as well? Well, there is a mutual reception between Venus and Jupiter that is ending. And this has been going on since mid-November. Venus has been in Jupiter's sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter is transiting through Venus's sign of Libra through next year. So the last month generally has been this time of connecting with other people, teaching, learning, evolving, and growing through relationship and connectivity. And it could have been somewhat fast-paced, could have been connecting with new teachers, new groups, getting new information that has been very enlightening. And it's really been connecting us with the people that we can be working with for some time, going into the future. And this is a theme that continues through the next year with Jupiter in Libra. But now Mars is moving into Aquarius, forming a mutual reception between Mars and Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius, Mars rules Aries, where Uranus is transiting now. And this is going to pull the energy from being so much involved in other people groups, what we're learning and sharing collectively, into what are we doing as individuals, and how can we as individuals make a difference and make changes in a world where it seems like we are powerless, is going to be a theme that is really being brought up to the surface this month. We are seeing the collective situation, which we're going to talk about in detail, in a detail that goes beyond a lot of what I see out there about Neptune on the moon's south node, which is going into collective beliefs that have been conditioned onto us throughout 2,000 years of essentially being helpless, of not being in control, and being ruled over and dominated by forces that have largely been oppressive, and how that has conditioned our consciousness to behave is a real thing we want to be investigating right now. And I only laugh as a coping mechanism from the actual discomfort that this subject matter brings with it. It's really not funny. So Mars moving into Aquarius is when we start to get fiery, when we start to get this stuff needs to change. We need to break old patterns. We need to break old limitations. Aquarius and Uranus is Prometheus, going behind Zeus's back, stealing fire from heaven in order to illuminate and liberate the human species that previously did not have the gifts to be able to be wise and think for ourselves and have free will to do via our own choices what we want to make changes, to evolve as individuals. You know, I watched V for Vendetta back on November 5th for old time's sake. V in that movie is actually a representation of who we can say is Prometheus, for it to be a little bit more understood. He says, ideas have the power to change everything. And even after my body dies, ideas will live on, generation after generation. It is that revolutionary idea which is the power of the human being to influence, change, and evolve the rest of the species. And so this is the potency that is coming through these changes, is that we can, via our own willpower as individuals, make choices and share ideas that are revolutionary, that can change a system that is failed and that has kept our consciousness imprisoned in old, outdated beliefs that reinforce the feeling and the sensation of helplessness, which is exactly what we can be feeling this month in abundance. So let's talk about Neptune on the South Node. Well, you know what? Actually, before we get to that, let's talk about some of the more short-term stuff. Sun is conjoined Black Moon Lilith this week as well. A lot of stuff's going on this week. We got these 3 planets changing signs, Sun going over Black Moon Lilith. What is Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio? She's staying there for the rest of the year. Black Moon Lilith is the repressed primal power of our souls, we can say, to summarize. Yes, she is the feminine force, but what is the feminine force is the inconceivable, irrational feeling that is undefined, that is not limited. Black Moon Lilith is murky, she is dark, she is wriggly, she cannot be contained, she cannot be limited, she ultimately cannot be repressed. And so Black Moon Lilith represents the loaded spring. Has the femininity been repressed for thousands and thousands of years? Yes, it certainly has. Femininity represents what is different from the mind, what has to do with intuition, feelings, gut instinctual reactions. All of these things have been condemned through thousands of years for being lesser than, not intelligent. Oh, gut instinctual reactions, those things are animalistic, they're barbaric. Those are the things that take you away from God. Sensuality, sexuality, feelings, emotions, instincts, these things take you away from the spiritual journey, is what we've been conditioned to believe, as we have suppressed a part of our nature that is very powerful and very valid, and it is the feminine wisdom that speaks through our feelings from our gut reactions. And so all that suppression has turned that primordial feminine power into a loaded spring of passion. And it's fiery, and it's angry, and it's mean, and it's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. I am so sick of the spiritual bullshit which has infected and permeated nearly the entire collective consciousness, that evaluates someone's spiritual evolution by how nice they appear on the surface. Oh, look how many hours I've meditated today, and look, I'm barely in my body at all. This entire world is just an illusion. And I am situated in a place that knows this, and so my happiness cannot be infringed upon by anything. I am permanently happy, I am enlightened, says the delusional, head disembodied, poor, bewildered soul. I, as my own gift to you, demonstrate what spirituality looks like by doing this. It doesn't look like whatever you think it looks like. And feelings are valid, and having reactions are valid, and having rage can also be used in a helpful, constructive, spiritually minded way that is oriented towards reconnecting our entire world with what the truth actually is. That this world is supposed to be where we are creating our home and making our families. And we need our emotions to inform us about how well we are doing. And so no more of this spiritual bullshit that enlightenment and being happy all the time is any mark of spiritual evolution, because I'm letting you know that that's not true at all. In fact, the only thing that really reflects is this type of discomfort with reality that makes us feel like, you know what, I can't handle real life. And so spirituality becomes to me an escape route. And this is what Neptune on the South Node is bringing our attention to, and we're seeing it in the world at large, is how we can't really handle the truth. And so this Black Moon Lilith conjoined the Sun this week. This is people are not happy, people are not uncomfortable, and that's good. We need that. We need people to use their rage and their aggression and their power to make change and transformation in the world, which is what Scorpio is. It's about evolution. Evolution means seeing what's there that you might not want to see so we can address those points and actually change them, instead of just covering it up under a layer of bullshit and then guillotining our head off and floating off into outer space and thinking that that's enlightenment, when really that's just insanity. And it's misleading other people off of a cliff of insanity, and nothing gets changed or improved in this world as a result of collective beliefs. The belief that spirituality looks this way, the belief that spirituality requires this type of practice that takes me out of my life, out of my family. This has been the collective situation for thousands of years. You can look at any one of the mainstream religions and come across, in vastness, in abundance, all of these issues. And so this is the time to not just be pointing the fingers. Don't point the fingers. We need to look at ourselves and look at our beliefs. How have they taken form in the past? And it's not about a right or wrong, good guy versus bad guy thing. This is one of the most redundant things that I say, because it's not spiritual. It's not spiritual to say, we're the good guys, you're the bad guys. Look, there's the Illuminati. Look, there's the demons. Look, those are the Trump supporters, the Hillary supporters. All of this pointing and blaming is called irresponsibility. Because the reality of what astrology reveals to us, which is a spiritual realization, is as above, so below. As within, so without. All of these collective situations are reflecting back to us where we factually are, in our own history and also in ourselves. And so what I'm suggesting in terms of not making this scary and bad, and seizing the opportunity here, is to reflect. And I just realized in all of my banter, I forgot to talk about the frickin' full moon, which is like what these videos are supposed to be about. There is a full moon in Taurus, November 14th, Monday, November 14th. It is at 22 degrees, 38 minutes of Taurus, around 9 a.m. Eastern Time. What I'm just going to very quickly say about this full moon being in Taurus is this is inviting us to get into our bodies and get into our sensations. Obviously, trust me, I am having a hard time keeping my head on this month. Pisces types, watery types, do your best to stay afloat. We've been talking about this whole period is, we're seeing people go off the deep end. It's easy, it feels to me like I'm swimming in this ocean of water, trying to tread. And so the other part of this full moon in Taurus is the feeling of hermitage. This is coinciding with the Neptune South Node stuff. It's happening the same week. And it's just like, I want to hide my head underneath the covers. I'm going to pull the covers over myself. I'm going to, comfort myself. And what we want to do is use that Taurus function in a way that is self-empowering. Use the comfort of the bed or the blanket over our head to allow us to do the deeper emotional processing rather than escapism. Oh, I'm going to go into computer land. I'm going to go into video game land. I'm just going to watch movies all night long. Can be that. And eat lots of food and just, dampen my senses, can be what Taurus is in a negative sense. But what Taurus ultimately can be is self-empowerment through using the senses and objects, creature comforts, and so on,
to raise our consciousness, be in a comfortable place where we can allow our own processing and upliftment to happen. The Buddha was born on a full moon in Taurus, and he did not achieve enlightenment until a girl brought him a bowl of rice. He was trying to achieve enlightenment, the classic ascetic, starve yourself and beat yourself and get over your body and your senses because it's all just an illusion way. And it didn't work. It wasn't until he comforted himself with the bowl of rice and felt at ease in his body and felt content that he used that tool of empowerment, of nurturing his body and his senses. And we should always see our body as this way, never as an illusion. No, the earth is not an illusion. Your body is not an illusion. You need to see it as service. As you serve your body, you are serving the earth. As you uplift your body, you are uplifting the earth. And so by nurturing our senses and our body in that type of loving way, it allows us to raise our consciousness in a way that is self-empowering, making us more capable to process more information and to create that safe space to be able to do so. Taurus is about safe space. It's about our immediate environment. There's so much that's going to be going on this month, and it's going to feel so chaotic. It's a good idea to create our own little hermitage and our own little safe space. But again, not in a means to escape what's going on in the world, but to create that foundation for our bodies to feel secure enough to be able to digest everything that's going on. And ultimately, Taurus is that steadiness to be able to ride through the chaos and the storms of this Neptune month. And so this full moon in Taurus is a blessing, despite my failure to mention it earlier, because I myself am all over the place.
And so what comes out of this investigation and this period is the formation of new ideals and new beliefs and new goals. And lo and behold, we collectively come together, we hold hands, we embrace, and we set course for these new goals. Neptune is like the be-all, end-all goal. Heaven. Yeah, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. And Neptune has been square to Saturn this entire year, since November of 2015. And what we're seeing this month is the culmination and completion of this transit that's been going on the last year, that's been authoritative paranoia, of the sense of the light of the end of the tunnel being closed down, no spiritual recommendations, no spiritual teachers, no spiritual role models, has been this type of year. And it's forced us to mature. What we are removing and purging out of our system is naivety and wishful thinking. That if I just sit here in the corner and look into my corner and think happy thoughts, that everything will happen to me. No, we need to get over the Stockholm Syndrome through understanding that we can transform this environment into something better through liberation and busting down the walls, etc. This is Pluto still in the middle of Capricorn. 15 degrees of Capricorn is where Pluto is right now. In the middle of this transit that is about the takedown of oppressive regimes, authorities, so on and so forth. Neptune, on the other end, is what real nature is, essential nature is. Neptune is the ocean. Neptune is the water. We have all this stuff going on with Standing Rock in North Dakota, which is like we are destroying this natural essence, which is very symbolic as well, because we're made out of 70% water. It is who we essentially are. Spirit is represented by this water, which flows and contains everything else. And we're polluting it and we're destroying it. And do the role models are they caring about or interested in this? Not the ones that are given the capability to come into the public eye. So we're seeing that our role models are a little bit more like this Stockholm Syndrome type situation, and that's a very good awakening. It's an uncomfortable awakening. I can correlate this time to sort of being like we've all been hunched together over this fire and trying to keep warm, and it's like the fire's going out and we're going to have to go out and collect some firewood pretty soon, and it's like we're slowly turning away from the circle and seeing the tundra that's around us, and it's just like, oh, I'm not sure I want to be the one to realize this, but you know what? It is the first and necessary step in this transformation and coming into this time that is inevitably going to be making it so we don't have to hunch and keep ourselves, focused on all this stuff. So just pay attention to these types of poetic illustrations that I'm trying to give to depict the feeling and the experiences that we can be having, which is like, oh, we're really uncomfortable about this election, so we all get onto Facebook and I'm political. Oh, we'll just put on the headset and chat with my friends on Halo. And we're going to talk about the election as we're playing our video games and, playing in this invisible, fantastic realm. And by the way, I say all this stuff because I am observing this in myself. I'm not perfect. I just, basically talk about the things that I'm experiencing myself. And this is what I've been experiencing. It's how we've all kind of been in this world where we haven't really had total control and liberation to do what we want to do as brilliant human beings. If we want to look to an exemplary time, let's look at the Renaissance. This is like humans can come together in this mystical, intelligent, profound way and invent things and make art and music that is beautiful, that illustrates God and what spirituality is in a way that is mind-blowing. And think about how far away we are from that Renaissance time, but we've got a glimmer of it, we've got a glimpse of it, and that is our future. That is the age of Aquarius, is coming back into this Renaissance age, which is about what? Humanitarianism. It's about the beauty of the human being, of the individual, that each and every one of us possesses within us a uniqueness that is brilliant. And within that uniqueness and that brilliance is our greatest gifts to offer the world, which simultaneously comes full circle and gives us the greatest satisfaction, seeing our gifts contributed to the whole and seeing how it benefits the whole and come full circle back to us. What could be better than this? So let's make that our goal. Let's make that our priority. Let's make that our new be-all, end-all goal and belief system, is coming back to the beauty of the human, the beauty of the earth, the beauty of nature, which is needed. We need to change our collective beliefs and not believe we're just going to go to heaven and that everything will, okay, this earth is just a temporary, place. And the Native Americans, they lost. You see how these collective beliefs are actually just kind of cocooning us away from the discomfort of the world we actually live in? We have to be willing to accept what's happened in ourselves, in our past, in order to evolve into something that's better. And if we're unwilling to do that process, then we'll never change. And so, to exemplify this, we want to look into the past. What have I believed before that now I'm realizing may not have been true? Perhaps in the past I believed that it was okay to simply go off of blind faith. Perhaps in the past I believed that to follow the spiritual authority or the priest or the person dressed in the right garb or the guru with the microphone, that person had my best interest. Perhaps in the past I believed that it was acceptable to be mocking and degrading to women and to minorities because everybody else did, and that was a way to fit in. Again, forgiveness is a huge aspect of this process in order to confront, see, accept, forgive, transcend, move on. In the past, I believed that pornography was acceptable. In the past, I believed that it was okay for me to eat a little bit of Halloween candy every day. It can be little things, it can be big things, but these things have ramifications that affect us. And they take our consciousness and they put it into this helpless state. And it is this helpless state of our own collective consciousness which is uncomfortably familiar to us. Perhaps it's been comfortable for us to believe that, this is my first incarnation on Earth and I'm from another planet. Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop. Okay, this is my first life, or this is my last life on this planet. Beep, boop, boop. And as soon as I depart and I graduate, this is my last life, and I'll never come back. Whew, good thing. I'm sick of this hellhole. Very convenient beliefs, I have to admit. But it's sort of disempowering us at the same time, is it not? To think that, I'm checking out as soon as this life's done. Yep, last time around. Is what someone says who's not quite on the spiritual journey. Because the spiritual journey is exemplified by the Bodhisattva, who says, I will reincarnate lifetime after lifetime after lifetime into this hell plane until it is not a hell plane anymore. I will be back again and again and again. Trust me, my friends, my loves. Because my love controls me, I can't resist coming back and wanting to help out these poor, bewildered, helpless, wounded children, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. I just want to lift up and restore the well-being of all. By coming back and reincarnating until every soul is liberated, is the vow of the Bodhisattva, which exemplifies what true spirituality is, which is love. And love means that there are no good guys and bad guys and enemies, because we're all children of God, we're all made of the divine, and therefore love wins by accepting and embracing everything in the creation, including the things that look disgusting. These are also the children of God, the disgusting vermin, the bad guys, the evil demons, our wounded children that have become so distorted via their own disconnection from their inherent soul's innocence. And so let's look at the collective beliefs that are actually killing off our soul's inner innocence. And let's get rid of any ideology that tells us that heaven is somewhere else. To be totally honest, we're not coming from or going to anywhere. We are stuck here, if you want the truth. And reality, which is where we are and where we always are, is what we are going to make it. And so seize the day. This requires our participation and our activity. This means that we should be a little uncomfortable where we are and use that discomfort as a fuel to awaken our heart and awaken other people. That is what the Bodhisattva does. I'm going to go in some place that's really uncomfortable, and my burning heart is going to get ripped open by the tragedy of what I view in the surrounding world. And having that heart ripped open, I will have no choice but to spend every waking moment in my life assisting and uplifting and helping the poor, the downtrodden, the needy. But once we actually embrace the world that we actually live in, change can happen in the blink of an eye. We have so much more power than we've been led to believe. It's not funny. And that's why I don't appreciate the conspiracy theories and the fear-mongering and, the Illuminati and the people that control everybody and, the Satan occult worshippers is total bullshit. No. They don't really have dark forces that are reigning over us. It is our beliefs which empower them to do so. This is the reality that I'm telling. Wake up! This is Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. Come on! You are creating those situations through your beliefs, and you are empowering the darkness by fearing it. Let's not believe that the President of the United States is going to make all our dreams come true. And let's also not believe that the President of the United States is some evil dictator, okay? It's not really like that. The power is in our hands. We can form our own communities. We can form our own groups, our own workshops, feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, educate ourselves. No problem. This is easy. Let's start connecting with one another in that type of endeavor, that type of excited humanitarian, yes, I can make a difference. Yes, I can blow down the walls of the past. I am an inventor. I am a pioneer. This is Mars moving into Aquarius. And I got to wrap it up here because this has been a rant. Okay, so Thursday, November 17th, Neptune is stationing direct on Neptune, on the moon's south node. Mercury is square to Neptune at the same time. This is confusion. This is, Neptune is row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I mean, this is where we all are. We might as well just surf with it. Yeah. The confusion, the uncertainty, it's a reflection of the ethereal nature, which is inconceivable. Let it all kind of wash over it can seem like an acid trip. There can be weird visions, weird sensations coming from very, very deep parts of our consciousness. And let this stuff wash over us, surf over us, and feel it, process it. It's not about knowing necessarily, okay, this is the cure-all, this is the solution. We have to let those things kind of one step after the next. First, we identify how our consciousness has formed, where these feelings are coming from. Where are these feelings coming from? What have been the past events in our childhood, in our early life that created these experiences, that evoked these deep feelings? And what are these connected to in terms of my philosophy, my belief, my truth? And how can I surf through this confusion and this uncertainty in such a way where it's actually dawning? It's a dawning revelation that there is a beauty within all things. There is a beauty within the sadness. There is a beauty within the heaviness. There is a beauty within the collective situation. There is a beauty within the Stockholm Syndrome. Yes, this is deep graduate's course, unconditional love stuff that we're talking about here, but it is true. See how these things are awakening us to something that is deeper and far more profound than what we have boxed in and limited our consciousness to in the past. Okay? And let our consciousness bleed beyond the limitations of the rules, the regulations, the walls, and tap into that essence which speaks for itself intuitively outside of time, outside of form. Neptune is the spiritual truth. Neptune is God. Neptune is the heart of the heart that is the heart of the universe, that is always in divine dance. Everything is always in divine dance, even when everything is acting and showing us something that is completely contrary. That is the trickiness of the universe. And that is what real faith is. Real faith is having that wisdom of the heart, that despite the trickiness of the surface, everything is still love and everything is still in a divine order and a divine flow. But that does not mean that you sit back and wait for the world to take care of itself, because we are one with that love, that divine flow. And so let it possess you, that love and that divine flow, to act, to evolve, to change, and to come into your power. Black Moon Lilith stays in Scorpio through the rest of this year. Come into your power, wounded masculine. Come into your power, wounded feminine. And let us come into our reuniting of the feminine and the masculine into creativity, into harmony, into love and abundance by liberating ourselves from the preconceived notions that we are lesser than we actually are. And so in that endeavor, I am wishing you absolutely all the best. My readings are changing. They're going from being natal chart reading to transit readings into something else that's going to be more just like bricks of time that are less contained and less defined in this effort to sort of reach people in a more personal and free-flowing and different per every individual type of way. And it's such an honor and a pleasure to do this work, to share this information, and to connect with each of you on an individual level, because every single one of you truly inspires and uplifts me. And I see the potential in you. I see the potential in every one of us and this world. And that is what makes us come alive. Much love to you and your beloveds. Namaste.